my book isn't about what America should be. It's about what America is. And I think America is a loving, generous place if you have money. I think it's a rapacious, violent place if you don't. And so I just think economic security, having a plan for economic security is an absolute must for people, especially for men who are disproportionately evaluated on their economic strength. And that's not to say that women shouldn't take economic responsibility, but 25% of men state economic viability as a key criterion to mate. It's 75% for women. I think that's low. I think they're sandballing it. I think it's 90%. So I think you need a plan. Now, what is that plan? The first is find your focus, find your talent, not your passion. Anyone who tells you to follow your passion is already rich. And the guy telling you to follow your passion made his billions in iron ore smelting. Find something you're really, really good at that you could be in the top 10 or the top 1%. What creates passion is mastery. You know, no one grows up thinking they want to be a tax lawyer. The top tax lawyers that understand client skills, taxes, math, the law, and can bring it all together. They fly private and have a larger selection set of mates than they deserve, which makes them passionate about tax law.
I want to back up for a second because you mentioned atheism twice. I used to be an atheist. I'm not an atheist anymore. But you sort of are echoing something that I heard Richard Dawkins say about 6 months ago, and he's really the number one, or let's say most prominent atheist in the world, that you see the utility, I suppose, for religion because of community. Is that an odd realization to come around to as an atheist? Yeah.
So one of the advantages of your father being married and divorced 4 times is you get a lot of different exposure to different religions. In the same year, I went to Unitarian church, went to Hebrew school, and I played on the softball league for the Mormon Church, Latter-day Saints. And what I generally found is that while I never got there in terms of faith around a super being, I got there around people coming together to help each other out and believing they're part of something bigger than themselves. And it wasn't just God. They were part of being kind to each other. I was very impacted by the Mormon Church. Every Monday night, I used to spend at the Jarvis's for family night. You know, every Monday night they have family dinner. And that imprinted something on me. They wanted to be successful. They wanted to make money. They wanted to go to college. All these things imprinted on me. And my first dance was actually at a dance at the Mormon Church held. So any institution that brings together people and generally speaking just tries to be kind and supportive of one another, I buy into. My atheism, flipping back, has been a huge, and I'm curious to hear a little bit about your journey. It's been a huge unlock for me because a recognition of the finite nature of life, believing that at some point I'm going to look into my son's eyes and know our relationship is coming to an end, gives me a lot of courage, Dave. I used to be so scared of what other people would think of me and getting the affirmation of others and worried about failing publicly and being shamed. And now knowing that everyone I worried about is going to be dead and so am I in 50 years, I find it sort of an unlock. I think it helps me love out loud a little bit. I think it gives me more confidence to take risks. And it also, for me, it's made me a little bit more emotive and articulating of my emotions and how strongly I feel about some people. So for me, it's been an enormous unlock.
Yeah, I'd actually love to explore that further with you, maybe on a separate show or on your podcast or somewhere else, because I have an interesting journey as it pertains to all of that as well. I was on tour with Jordan Peterson as he was describing sort of why he felt atheism doesn't really work except in some very extreme circumstances. And I was kind of going through my own thing, and we were having kids, which is biologically difficult when you have 2 males. And then I would say there's a series of other things that kind of altered that, but maybe we can pick that up at another time.
I like that.
I want to talk a bit about wealth, actually, because if you would have said to me, I don't know, 30 years ago, Dave, you're going to have done as well as you did, I honestly don't think that I would have believed you, because I'm not particularly good at math. Even carrying the 1 can get confusing to me sometimes when I'm putting a tip on a check. And yet I've done fairly well and started some businesses, and one of them went public. So things have kind of worked out. And one of the things that I see now, sort of related to the young males portion of this, is that people don't see a path towards wealth. They don't see a path towards actually owning things and getting ahead in things. I always say the two things that sort of economically make sense to me is I know things are going well when the price of food is down and when interest rates are low so you can buy a house. Like to me, it's not much more complex than that at like the most simple level. But what are your sort of main takeaways that you would want people to know about how to start thinking about wealth clearly?
Well, the first is to just acknowledge that America becomes more like itself every day. And my book isn't about what America should be. It's about what America is. And I think America is a loving, generous place if you have money. I think it's a rapacious, violent place if you don't. And so I just think economic security, having a plan for economic security is an absolute must for people, especially for men who are disproportionately evaluated on their economic strength. And that's not to say that women shouldn't take economic responsibility, but 25% of men state economic viability as a key criterion of mate. It's 75% for women. I think that's low. I think they're sandballing it. I think it's 90%. So I think you need a plan. Now, what is that plan? The first is find your focus, find your talent, not your passion. Anyone who tells you to follow your passion is already rich. And the guy telling you to follow your passion made his billions in iron ore smelting. Find something you're really, really good at that you could be in the top 10 or the top 1%. What creates passion is mastery. You know, no one grows up thinking they want to be a tax lawyer. The top tax lawyers that understand client skills, taxes, math, the law, and can bring it all together. They fly private and have a larger selection set of mates than they deserve, which makes them passionate about tax law. It's mastery. It's ninja-like command of something that gets you economic accoutrements, camaraderie, loyalty, prestige. And as you get older, Dave, and I think you're going to find this, you get really passionate about taking care of your parents. You get passionate about knowing that you can not have the economic stress of an America that doesn't like poor people, and you can focus on your relationships and offer opportunity. When you meet somebody that needs help or an organization that's doing great work, you can give them money and it doesn't hurt you and it helps them. So find your talent through focus. And then time. Recognize that for 99% of our time on this planet, we didn't live past 35. So the human brain is not calibrated for time and how fast it will go. Wow, this life went really slow, said no one ever. You're going to be my age before you know it. And then that goes to the next thing, and that is compound interest.
How old are you?
I'm 59.
You've only got 11 years on me.
There you go.
I am going to be there before I know it, yeah.
But if I had the private school debate, right? I just spoke to the board of a Tony private school here in New York, and I said, if you were really honest, you'd tell people the following. Send their kid to the closest school. A lot of studies show that's the best you can do, and take the additional time savings and reinvest it in homework, sleep, play. Take that $62,000 that it costs to go to Grace Church or First Presbyterian downtown and pay yourself that tuition every year and put it in SPY. Now, assume you screwed up and that public school doesn't get them into an elite school, doesn't get them the economic opportunities you'd hope for them. You can ease that pain with $5.4 million when they're 35. So
right, you'll be okay.
You'll be just fine. So people don't understand that math. And then finally, where I screwed up, Dave, was diversification. And that is, I had a company go public, but I borrowed money to put more money into it. And I ended up broke at the age of 42 because I wasn't smart enough to take money off the table and put it in different areas. Because the reality is, as much as we'd like to think that as a successful person, we can shape the world, the market trumps individual dynamics. And sometimes you're just going to get unlucky and sometimes you're going to get lucky, but diversify. I wish I had done that earlier. I would have been fine if I'd done that.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just having a conversation with our financial people about what we want to do with the kids as it relates to college. And I was like, I'm not putting a college fund together, but I will set aside a certain amount of money each year that we're going to invest properly so that hopefully they come to me at 17, 18 and they say, Dad, this is sort of what I want to do. And we can figure out a way to help set up a business or buy a house or something like that. So do you think it's just that in some ways we're realizing that a lot of these institutions and ways of thinking of the world have just sort of gotten to the end of where they're at and that we just need to think about things in a new way? Like, I mean, even just as it pertains to education and everything else, the amount of homeschooling we're seeing now, charter schools, school choice, that we should just maybe get away from such controlled environments in a lot of these disciplines.
I think it's situational. Like if you look at Cal State that's offering classes in cybersecurity or especially construction or nursing, that with 1 or 2 years can get you a good Main Street economy job at 80 or 100 grand. I think we need more of that, not less of it. If we're talking about elite institutions that sit on an endowment that's the GDP of Costa Rica, but don't want to expand their freshman class size faster than population, they should lose their tax-free status. They're no longer public servants. They're Chanel bags. They're hedge funds offering classes.
If you're looking for smarter conversations about academia, check out our academia playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.